sondelani nizozizwela sihlangene eshashalazini idolobha lencwadi. Bayayazi le ndawo, bathi sondelani nizobe qobelelana ngolwazi, bathi sondelani ibiza abadala, ibongo phezulu, ibongo abaphansi, nigiyeni ukwephise biziwe ngamathambo abadala, bathi bona lefina imvula yeKristu, imvula Izikhali zethu zendabulo hayi senibelekile senibusisekile hlanganani izinhliziyo nemimoya hlanganani izinhliziyo nemimoya hlanganani mafika amahle hlanganani lezinhliziyo nemimoya. Siyathokoza Camango bathole siyathokoza siyacama kusho ngoba uchosi kubehole futhi kumnyama vele bakhulu ukukhanya siyacama kusho Camango.
Camango sithi mabudede bomnyama kuvela ukukhanya, budede bomnyama kuvela ukukhanya, mabudede bomnyama kuvela ukukhanya. Ukukhanya yikho isabeloko sethu, ukukhanya yikho imvelaphi yethu. La sikhona njalo ukukhanya kuhlale nathi. Welcome to the 15th edition of Nozincwadi International Storytelling Festival. Namhlanje silana ePlayhouse. Saqale ICC we launched Nozincwadi under the storytelling tree, under the fig tree. Sinokukhanya. Sasuka lapho saya eMkhumbane ney'ngane, and we're able to appreciate and enjoy stories from far and wide, local stories, international stories, and continental stories. The one thing that's clear is that these stories unite us. Like the flowing river of ancestral wisdom, the stories unite us. We shared the different rivers that we drink from, the different stories that we have, the different histories of our bloodline, to then understand that it's all spiritual, as it was in the beginning. It is now in the present, and so shall it be in the end. I'd like to welcome you all to the Playhouse, to the seminar, the hybrid seminar that is being broadcast far and live on the Gcinamasiko Facebook page, so that we don't only share this beautiful experience amongst us, but amongst those that are not able to join us across the sea. Siyabonga kakhulu mama, sibonga ubukhona bakho, sibonga your inspiration, sibonga your guidance, and for bringing us together as storytellers, and for actually reminding us that we are all storytellers, all in our own different ways. We just tell the stories through various elements: art, of science, of academy, and of oral history and visual depiction. Manje ke sisacela ukuthi masiqala sikwazi ukuthi silibusise lolu suku, siqale ngomkhuleko. Umeko unamandla umasikhuleka ngokukholwa uJesu lalela aphendula umkhuleko. Let's Ngiyabonga konke kuyena ngomkhuleko. Sacela ukuthi sonke sikhuleke in all our spaces. Sibusise lolu suku, sibusise le ndawo, sibusise this moment. Amen. Siyabonga kakhulu. Igama lami nguPretty waka Oliphant. Mawuzothi impongo, uthi gatsheni, uthi boya benathi, uthi zingilwayo, awudukile. Ithi indaba, umkhulu wahamba waye ekoloni, kwakuthiwa isekoloni ngaleso sikhathi. During the apartheid era, ngesikhathi se-Land Colony Act. Wathi umkhulu, hayi, ngiyabona lana ukuthi ngathi mangimnyama ngebala akungisebenzeli. Kodwa ngoba mina ibala lami liyakhanya, ngothi ngithathe i-advantage. Ngihambe like lapha ekoloni ngiyoshintsha isibongo, ngithi ngu-Oliphant. Ngikwazi ukuthi ngithole umhlaba, ngikwazi ukuthi ngithole better education because colored people classified had better access to education. They were treated better during the apartheid era. So my grandfather, strategic and tactful, decided to beat the system and work around the system. And that's how I became to be u-Oliphant. I'm from eMgungundlovu. Ngundlovu ngaseMgungundlovu. Ngiyasho ukuthi izwe lakithi la ngiphuma khona. Sasingadukile khona. Kuthiwe iseMaritzburg eMabeshu. Ngesikhathi samanje. Nakhona it was because of Peter Thief and Gert Maritz. Kwaqhamuka kwawo Peter Maritzburg. Asilazi lelo gama. Thina sazi isigungu senkosi yabaZulu. Esasikhona kuthiwa uMgungundlovu because ikrali yakhe yayilapho. Ngiyajabula kakhulu ukuba nani namhlanje. I am the owner of Hot Toffee Communications. I'm a poet, I'm a vocalist. I'm also the founder of an initiative called Ukwasuka Sukela, inspired by Uma. And Uma and I have been partnering since that to push literature, the love of heritage, arts and culture, especially in Mgungundlovu. I always say that eThekwini, you are so lucky to have such a big pool and culture of artistry. Art centers, eninawo maningi ngalana. Bakhona abanye bethu that are panelists that have founded such art centers to be able to mold such talent. So and I would love for us to introduce and give a big round of applause to Umama wethu, Umama Gcinamasiko, who's going to come through, give us the introduction and the welcome. Ngisacela ukuthi sithi Gcinamasiko. 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 Ma, obviously.
Ngathi uzoqala i-political party lo sis, I'm worried. Next thing uzokutshela ukuthi akasafune lutho lento ze-arts, qala iqembu lakhe elisha. There are so many political parties in South Africa, I can't even count them now. Please don't do it yet. Please don't do it. We need you in the arts. We need you in the heritage space. Just hold on. We don't need one more political party, please. Siyathokoza kakhulu kuba nani. Thank you so much, every single one of you, for making this time to join us as we wanted to delve into the subject and the topic and the theme that we've chosen today to talk about it and see what you can share with us, because we never stop growing. Gcinamasiko would be nothing without our sister organizations. Gcinamasiko would be nothing without people like you always honoring us, always encouraging us to go forward. And today, on a day like this, when we are trying to bring the different styles of communication, because storytelling happens in different ways. The dance is part and parcel of storytelling. People who play the drums and different instruments, they tell stories through music. People who are part of architecture, they tell stories in all those ways. So I'd like to welcome each and every one of you for being here. And when we talk about the guests that are here, I'd like to honor the Playhouse. I'm so grateful that the Playhouse agreed that we host this discussion here. This is where we started the Nozincwadi Storytelling Festival when I turned 50 years ago in 2008. And it was here at the Playhouse. 400 young people arrived, and people came from all over. My friends from the US came, people came from Namibia, came from Joburg, people came from all kinds of parts in the Bloemfontein, Bafika, Base Kimberley, Bafika, Cape Town, Pretoria, Eastern Cape. It was amazing, the people that were here to honor my 50th birthday with 20 schools that I invited. But I didn't know that it was the beginning of something that would grow to be what it is today. So the Almighty God is always walking with us, always walking in the light of God. I'd like to also celebrate people in the creative arts in eThekwini, because those centers that Priti talks about, they do so much to keep the fires burning in the hearts of people who are in the creative arts. So we are grateful. Playhouse. Umama Bukhosini, in her absence, siyazi ukuthi ukhona with us in spirit. We want to continue collaborating with those different organizations. Ngiyazi ukuthi abanye abantu abayazi iFreedom Park ePretoria. I'm hoping that one day when you travel to Pretoria, you'll be able to go to Freedom Park and learn what it is about. I don't know why heritage spaces are not publicized the way they should be, so that people can go there to Pretoria and see what is it that is being celebrated about the heroes and the sheroes of people who made a difference in order for us to gain our freedom. Eastern Cape, we are grateful that you are here. We were part of the Gardner Museum. That's how I met some of our guests here, also Jonetta Tinker and Susan Thompson, when I was an artist in residence at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. And so there are so many people who do wonderful things. My job is to celebrate, whether people are doing what I celebrate most, the storytelling and the creative writing, whether they do different styles of celebrating the arts. But my job is to honor others. We are cross-pollinating. When I shine my light, it makes sure that you get a lot of that light as well. The friends of Gcinamasiko, Nkosi yami. People who attend so many of our events who say, "Qhubekani nenze okuhle, qhubekani nenze okuhle, qhubekani nenze okuhle." People who say, what you are doing matters. We want you to do better and better. Those prayers and those encouraging words, they see us to where we are today. So I'd like to welcome each and every one of you coming from different countries. The countries that are here, we've got Uganda in the house. We've got the Mountain Kingdom, Lesotho, in the house. We have got Zimbabwe in the house. Yes, the spirits of Mbuya Nehanda, they are with us here tonight. Yes, we have got the United States of America here in the house. Yes, and some of the people that are going to be joining us streaming, as we are streaming live on Facebook, we're going to be having a Prophet Shai Mongola in Kenya. We know you are with us. People that are going to be watching in South America, in Chile, they're going to be looking at what we are doing on Navarrete. They're going to be watching us in Chile. People are going to be watching us in Egypt. People are going to be watching us in Cote d'Ivoire. where bazobe besibukele. So the different countries that are wanting to be with us, siyabonga, 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 siyanconcoza. Ngicela ukuphinde ngihlale phansi oqhubeka nohlelo lethu.
Siyabonga kakhulu kuma. Ngisacela ukuthi singasamshayeli izandla. Ngicela sikikizeni. Sise-Africa thina, e-Africa masijabulile siyakikiza. Ngisacela ukunizwa nikikiza bo. Awu siyavuma, siyavuma. Water has been the theme of this festival. Water is absolutely fluid. It trickles through to the very little tricklings. If there's an opening space, no matter how little, the water will permeate that space. We say the same thing about our spirituality. We say the same thing about our identity. We found in other spaces that you find that you have an interest or a passion, not knowing where it stems from. And when you do a bit of research, you find that it actually runs in your veins. There was an uncle, there was a forefather somewhere who was interested in something, and you are actually that channel that is being used and being guided to be able to fulfill prophecies once old. If you allow it to happen, you shall be that no, and you shall be that positive channel. And that's one thing that we've learned from Gcinamasiko, is that we need to be positive channels and allow ourselves to draw in that positive energy so that we can make a change. A world must be a better place because a man or woman has lived. We are not here for ourselves, but we are here for those that are yet to come. And in that spirit, I would also like to acknowledge and thank the Playhouse so much for allowing us to be able to utilize the space, for giving us creatives opportunities to feed our families, for coming up with projects and initiatives that we can be a part of, including skills and transferring of skills and honing our talents so that we can become better artists and to even learn the art of business. Because a lot of us artists don't understand that this artistry is our business if we allow it to. I would like to then call up the representative from the Playhouse to give a few words. Ngisacela simshayele izandla.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I thought you were going to call me by name. My name is, okay, that doesn't sound right. Kalina Kiletlhogonolo wa Gariba. Welcome to the Playhouse and welcome to Nozincwadi International Storytelling Festival. As Mam Dina has already mentioned, this is where the festival started 15 years ago. And we as the Playhouse are very much honored to host you once again. So thank you very much for coming. I hope you're going to enjoy yourselves, enjoy the conversations, and enjoy the performances that are going to be taking place. I'm very much tempted to say, Gcinamasiko, Gcinamasiko, Gcinamasiko. We are opening this party.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Aibo, dynamite comes in small packages in jail. Oh, thank you for such a positive spirit. Thank you for such a positive energy. Now it makes sense why we're actually welcomed into the space with such open arms. Siyabonga kakhulu. I would like to then call upon Upumlane once more to give us a solo performance. We've been saying that we tell our stories through poetry, through dance, through storytelling, painting, fashion, food, even acts of charity. where we lend a helping hand to the next person. That's how we are able to tell our stories. Telling our stories is a means of cultural preservation. We are able to then know now the stories of our forefathers because they were told narratively. The Bushmen told their stories through cave writing. Kukhona nobaba uCredo Mutwa who prophesized. We still speak about them now. And there was a beautiful thing that I think is happening to Africans. We are embracing our Africanness. On the 1st of September, which is Africa Month, which is the new year for our continent, according not to the Gregorian calendar, but according to nature, because our ancestors were scientists. And there was a migration to Mpumalanga, where the sun rises. And we were there, and there were healers praying for our continent, pleading with our guides and our ancestors to open up the heavens so that their dreams and their visions can come true through our physical execution. This is a beautiful thing for Africans, especially because colonists, apartheid, made sure that they oppress not only us physically, but us psychologically, where we saw ourselves and our blackness to be demonic. Mazibuye masisweni. Mazibuye masisweni. Mazibuye emasisweni. Can we give it up for Pumlani, please?
Masiembo, Masiembo, yo, Masiembo, Masiema, Masiembo, Masiembo, yo, guagama, yo, Masiembo, Masiembo, yo, guagama, yo, Masiembo, Masiema, yo,
Tamaku. Masikamuke sheni kamaku. 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 In African spirituality, I believe also in European spirituality, we say that if we say things 3 times, siyiphinda kathathu, we are bringing it into existence. We are calling on our forefathers. We are calling on our ancestors. We've been saying that artistry is spiritual. This was evidence of the spirituality of our Africanness, of the summoning of our ancestors through our art. His name is Phumlani Nyanga. Namhlanje, njengoba nami ngigqoke kanjena nje ngigqoke isiXhosa. Ngithe njengoba ngumZulu, kodwa ngumuntu wakanguni, isizwe esingoni. We need to celebrate each other more as isizwe sethu sabangoni. Embrace each other's spirituality and each other's culture a whole lot more. Because when we talk about our clans, these are just things that divide us. When we look through our history, we are all one. Sonke simuntu munye. So kubalekile ukuthi nathi sabantu besintu sixobelele kwizizwe ezinye nazo zesintu. sizijabulele khona sokwazi ukuthi siphokophele njengabantu bakontu. Next up, I'd like to call on one of our very beloved storytellers and a member of the Gcinamasiko. Ubhuti wethu esimthanda kakhulu, uSiyabonga Ndlela.
Sanibona. Ninjani? Sikhona. Igama lami mina nguSiyabonga. Ukube kuthiwa nje umuntu mayebizwa igama uba nemali eningi. Angabe sengicebile. Ngoba yonke indawo la kwenzeka khona okuhle. Ekugcineni bayangibiza nje. Siyabonga. Isibongo ke ngowakandlela mina nguSompisi uNtulumpemba uDlela kaGodide naphemba ngamakhanda amanye amadoda abanye bephemba ngemlilo nini abaselenge labonakala ngefule ezintuli thiwa ke umuntu akaqedwa inkosi ayiqedwa hayi ke ake singene endabeni kwesukasukela ebusuku somile impondo awa Okay, kwesukasukela ezweni elikude kudala lapho imlingo kwakuyinto eyayenzeka mihla namalanga. Kwakunesizwe esikude nezintaba. Lesi sizwe ke kwakuyisizwe esasigcwele ubuhle, sihlaza izitshalo zakhona. Ngani na? Kwakunomfula lapho, umfula owawunomlingo. Lo mfula yonke into eyayingena khona okuyiphendula iba yinhle. Lo mfula wawugudla izintaba nezintabakazi, unqamula amathafa, ugeleze njalo, uwehle la udlula khona ngaphesheya kwakhona kusala kukuhlaza. Izitshalo zakhona, amaqabunga akhona, ongafunga ukuthi kunomuntu njalo ofika achelela umanyolo nje aphosa umanyolo ngendlela kwakukuhlaza ngayo. Abantu ke bakhona babesizakala njalo ngawo lo mfula. Ngoba ngisho lokho okuncane okuyizingane kwakuthi makusondela emfuleni ngoba phela kunesihlahla esithanda ukumila eduze komfula esibizwa ngesihlahla somdoni. Hayi ke ngakuloyo mfula isihlahla somdoni sasiqhakaza indoni zibe mnyama. Zithi mazibona inkunzi malanga iqhamuka sibona lapha phezulu siyogijima noma bawujaha ukuyogibela esihlahleni bayohlala phezulu badle indoni kusale lokho okuncane bandle okuhleli laphansi kuloko kubaboko aningikhelela phela nami okuncane hali inkunzi malanga lezi egibela phezulu hlele emagatsheni aphezulu zidla lezi indoni lezi lokho eyibuka labo kuthiwa eme bamphosele yodwa kuthiwa bamba lapho nayo uyosama la ukunqaka yona le yodwa uyomunye ilunga le yodwa ophinda acele inkosi yami kuze kube khona oyedwa nje odabukayo amhleplela igatsha amphosele uthole naye lesehleli phansi ukunzi malanga la ngasetsheni isihlahla sakhe la nayo uyayibisa into sokugcwele la wona kuyajuza impela uyabona ke lo mfula mawugeleza njalo wehla ufica lapho omama bemizi behleli lapha eceleni bekha incema. Siyayazi incema yenzani incema awuzwa ke ibasiza ko mama laba babakha amacansi. Le macansi kuma sebewakhile babekwazi ukuthi bawadayise phela emadolobheni ukuze bezokwazi ukuthi mabebuya ntambama emakhaya kube khona okudliwayo. Yini na umfula lo wawubasiza ke bonke bekuthanda ukuya emfuleni. Bese ukuthi mawehla nje njalo udlula ngakomama. Kwakunedwala elikhulu elimhlophe. Leli dwala ke lo mfula wawuthi masusuwehla kulo wehle kwasampophoma. Lapho ke inkunzi malanga ke ezomafiswana ababethi babeyibona kushiyo ukuthi hayi kusifiso inhlanzi uqobo lwakhe ngeke umthinte emanzini. Maye kwangena emanzini ukucwila ningabe nisambona. azifika inkunzi malanga sime lapha phezulu etsheni qhudelana phela ngokuthi ubala ozogibela etsheni eliphezulu bese isitshwiza siyaphansi. Hawu umafetwana ke wayivana afika phela phezulu bonke sebephansi kumiyo kuthi Sifiso 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 Sifiso. Uyazi-ke abantu uma bepraise waziwa ukuthi wena hayi makuthiwa kubhukude kuthiwa mafetwana awu mafetwana uyamthola kwathi Qhambi ukumafetwana mayifika phansi uyovuka esethi kalunywa zisho inkunzi yini athi sisu sasithini sithi angidla abantu thwabadle bakwabaka vala shone phansi emvuleni ayizobaleka ke lezi uyovuka esovuka komunye esembamba sekuthiwa thasha wena isigoda bebaleka naye shona ngala kanti ngezansi kunobaba badinwayo lento eyenziwa oSifiso phezulu ngoba phela obabugumede labayayidobela bona hayi inkosi malanga ugumede uyithola imile lesisi esikhulu idonsa udobo layo ufunakala phela inhlanzi hayi inhlanzi eyila kulomfula omadevo obhabula uyozwa ke uSifiso mase sebabuka kahle ibabuka baba bedoba ezandla uyanyonyoba nalezi ezakhe sondele la ngasemfuleni sithi mayisuka sigxumele edamini manje ngalesikhathi begxumela la edamini bebhukuda abathusa ofishi uyozwa lo mama ethi obana benina esuka lapho nina sithusela ofishi man hawu lezo zomafiswana ke sifanele hleke zona zibaleke sekuthi ke lo mfula mase usubadlulile bonke labantu abala kulesi sigodi usuku usuya kumngani wakhe hayi umfula kunomngani wakhe abangahlukani naye ngoba njalo kudla la eduze kwakhe umngani womfula ke kwakuyintaba enkulu intaba uthe mawufika umfula la ngesanthu uyafika usukhathela usudiniwe uthi hayi wentaba mngani wami awungitshela wenza kanjani ukuthi wena njalo uvana uzimele nje la ngisho ngathiwa liyaduma kwenzakalani wena umila unyakaziswa yilutho yazi ngifisa kanjani ukuba wena ihleke intaba ethi wena mfula uhlusha ungazi yabona mina njengoba ngimla usuku lonke mina impilo yami yonke ngimala into engiyibukayo nje yilesa sihlahla somduni nale yandaba kanti ukube ngifana nawe wena ugeleza umhlaba wonke ubone bonke ubuhle nemvelo umdala athe wayidala uzungeza zonke lezi zindawo mina engakwazi ukuzibona ukube kuyangami nje mina angabe mina ngisifanela nawe uthi umfule wena wazi wena lonke ingaba khona mina ngiyageleza waya mfethu angikaze ngime yes mfethu ngikhathele ake sishintshane mfethu ngeke ngibe wena ube yimi ahleka manje siyazi angiyazi mina lento ukuthi yenzeka kanjani kodwa iningi lethu siyakuthanda ukufisa izinto esingenazo ngoba laba abafishane bafuna ukuba abade bafuna ukuba bafishane abancane bafuna ukuba abakhulu bafuna ukuba abancane yabona wena mfula wazi lonke ubuhle buka nje mawuqala lapha phezulu kunezingane ezijabulayo ngawe ngani na isihlahla somdoni sidla wena kahle kahle uletha impilo la emhlabeni wena mfula ufana nemthambo thina esumhlaba sifana nomzimba ngoba ngaphandle kwakho ayikho into ukuphila kuthina ayizwa kahle lento umfula uthi hayi man ayikho lento uyabaza uSifiso wena wakwafika kwena uSifiso engagezile yamazi uSifiso mekagezile so hawu yini uSifiso khona nale anda yakhe emaruni edabukile ufana ngene ngayo lana hawu kodwa ntawo thangeke yabona mfula kahle hlisa umoya ukuthi nani imfula senathamba mfula wentaba ukuthamba ungenelele labo bafana bengcolile bazogeza kumina yilabo baba laba badobe baphose noma yini lapha emfuleni kumina mina ngiyoloke ngihambile nje hawu mfula uvalo intaba ivesane ibona ukuthi hayi mfula ehlisa umoya lalela mfula yabona ke wena namhlanje ngifuna uzazi ukuthi ubaluleke kanjani emhlabeni Ngicela uzamukele njengomfula owukuphila ngoba wena ngaphandle kwakho yabona nje ubungibuka mina nazo zonke lezi zitshalo ezidlanga ezansi kwami. Zini ziqhakaza nje ngoba ukuphila zikuthatha kuwena. Lezi zilwane ozibona zigijima la wena. Zifika zonke zifika ziphuze kuwena. Labo mama laba bakhe incema lapha mabebuya bonke babuya bazokhusela kuwena. Obaba laba bondla imindeni yabo ngeinhlanzi wena ozipha ukuphila bese bona bekwazi ukondla umndeni. Awuboni ukuthi wena thina sonke la emhlabeni ngaphandle kwakho thina siyilutho. Kahle kahle thina sidinga wena ngoba wena wamanzi ukuphila. Ngakho ke kubalulekile ukuthi uzamukele ngomnjalo bakho. Ungafisi ukufana nami ngiyintaba ngoba mina akukho ukuphila engikuletha kuwena. Konke kwami ukuphila ngikuthatha kuwe. Ngakho ke mina ngithi zamukele ngendlela oyiyona. uNkulunkulu akalenzanga iphutha ngokukwenza ukuthi ube nje namuhla. So engikushoyo ukuthi iningi lethu sibalekelwa ukuphila esinako ngaphakathi ngenxa yokuthi sijaha izinto ezingaphandle esiyibuka kubantu kanti uNkulunkulu utshala ukuphila kwithi ngamunye ngamunye. Umeke waqala wazamukela wena ngomnjalo bakho kulula ukuthi ukuphila kuwena ukudlulisele nakwabanye. Cosi yaphela.
Awu, siyabonga Mpokandlela. Awu, siyabonga impela. Yeah. The one thing that Uma always says is that the beautiful thing about storytelling is that it always has our values and lessons to teach us. There's always something that we can take out of it. So that was a really, really beautiful story, especially ngoba siyazi ukuthi when you're sitting in your own little corner, you look at things from afar. The grass always looks greener on the other side. But you don't know what waters, what manure, and how much actually one invested in landscaping to make sure that that grass is that green. So thank you so much for that beautiful story. Siyabonga kakhulu bhuti wami. As Uma was translating there, I was actually reminded that we actually have international guests here. So thank you so much for that, Ma. As Usia was narrating a story, Ma was translating it so that our international guests, including Ubudwetu from Lesotho, can also then just understand the story. Oh, and Usiswetu from Uganda, how can I forget? To be able to understand and then get the lessons of what the story is about to tell. That also reminded me that Uma is quite an innovator. Dr. Gcinamasiko. And I'm referring to her. She's been an innovator. Incwadi yakhe in 2021 was the first to be translated into Braille so that people that are not gifted in sight are able to also enjoy these stories. This year, September, once more, the first to translate her book into a video sign language so that those that are not gifted in hearing are then able to share these stories. I think for us, it's always important, as we're sitting here, to then bear in mind with everything that we do, that there are those that are not as abled as we are in all the spaces, in all the things that we do. Some might be physically challenged. Some might have other challenges, but let's bear that in mind with all the projects and with all the events that we do. Siyabonga Ma to keep us reminding us of that, to have an inclusive society and to ensure that nobody is excluded from these beautiful stories that teach us that dreams are within reach. Next up, we shall start with the panel discussions. Yes. So I would like to introduce our panelists. First up, isacela ukubiza ubaba uJerry Poa. Ubaba Poa. Please come through. He's a playwright, he's a director, he's an actor, very active within the theater, and has done a lot for development for our artists sethu. Siyajabula kakhulu ukuba nawe baba. Sacela simshayele ihlombe again. We also have Ubabu Edmond Mshongo. Ubabu Edmond, ngicela simshayele ihlombe. Also very prolific. He's the founder of Ekaya Art Center, Egwamashu. It was one of the first art centers in the township to have a fully fledged theater. So, siyajabula kakhulu ukuba noBabu Edmond. Ngicela siphinde futhi simshayele ihlombe. And then we have umama wethu esimthanda kakhulu, very beloved mother of ours, umama Jeanette Tinkler. Umama Jeanette Tinker. Umama Jeanette Tinker, she tells stories through art as well, and she teaches us how to express ourselves artistically. Very prevalent within our universities, and she deals a lot with students as well to teach them to be able to express themselves through creativity. Next up, we have another dynamite in small packages. Usiswetu Uzoe, the storyteller, all the way from Uganda. Zoe, she's also a storyteller. It's something that was gifted to her, like with most artists that came in a dream, and we were told, we were guided, and the instruction came, and she heeded the call. She's also very much into music and theater. And then we've got umama wethu esimthanda kakhulu, uDr. Nomphucuko Zakaza. Yes, an academic and a storyteller, all the way from Emonti, Etombo. Etombo. So we have all the cultures represented here. We have Eastern Cape. We have Kwamash, okay, from Durban. And then we have Boston. And then we've got Ubaba again from Kwamash. No, when from Soweto. Emzinyathi. Ngiyaxolisa Emzinyathi. And then we've got Uganda. Yes, ngisacela ukuthi bakwazi ukuthi basi-introduce before we start.
Nqanga nentsibazayo. All protocol observed. That's what it means when it is summarized. Nqanga nentsibazayo. Kumbhexesa Nkqubo, our beautiful MC. I am honored and humbled to be here at Nozincwadi. My name is Nompucuko Zakaza. All the way from Tsomo apha Nqolosa, uMancitshane usichumeka sichongoma unkwenkwezana. Siphalaphala samatolo zulo mchengo dlangamandla. Enkosi.
Sanibona. Abantu abadala bamelwa so ngizohlala phansi. I'm not going to stand because in our culture you don't stand when the elders are in the room. Oh, okay. I'm Edmond Msongo. I'm the director and the founder of Kaimat Art Center, KK Kwamash. That's where I'm coming from. Artistic director, producer, storyteller, writer, etc., etc. Siyabonga.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. And seeing these lovely people and working with them is such a great pleasure. My name is Johnetta Tinker, and I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, United States of America. And Ina Mofley and I met at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum when I was working with young people and teaching them how to look at art. And so I'm a visual artist. And I do painting, drawings, and printmaking, and that's my therapy. That's how I live through my art.
Yeah, my name is Jerry Powe. Ke Mophuthing, ke Mofokeng. I'm an artistic director, founder of Ushwini Pan African Center in Gwangolosi. I'm also a director, theatrical, a writer, a storyteller, a teacher. Yeah. So on and so on.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to greet you in my language. I taught the storytellers today how we greet. So when I say Koizeyo, you repeat Tulio and we sing, okay? Koizeyo. Mm, mm, eh. Thank you. All protocol observed. In my language, where I come from in my culture, the women kneel and the men stand. And traditionally, women don't sit on the same level with men. We sit on mats. My name is Kayendeke Zoe Patricia, but I'm internationally known as Zoe the Storyteller. I am a performing artist, and in performing arts, I am many things. I'm a storyteller, and I tell stories through the oral tradition of Around the Fire. Through theater, I do theater for children and adults, and also puppetry theater. I'm a writer. I'm a singer. I do many things. And I believe the revelation I have behind my storytelling is I believe that a village that has a storyteller and children will never lose its song. Yes, thank you.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Ngisacela noku-introduce uma uDr. Gcinamasiko. As a panelist, ukuthi uze phambili. Cela simshayele izandla. Needs no introduction. So many doctorates, so many lives changed. Siyabonga kakhulu. Nawe masacela ukuthi nathi uqaphu kancane njengoba nabo batholile ithuba abanye.
Kapu kapu in English, that is kwapu kwapu. I know people think I don't speak good English, but I know how to say kapu kapu in isiZulu, and in English you say kwapu kwapu. Briefly, I will say I am Gcina Mhlope. I'm the founding director of Gcinamasiko Arts and Heritage Trust. And Nozincwadi started as a way of honoring my great-grandmother, Umamchunu. She could not read, she could not write, but she collected anything with words on it, and she put them in a suitcase. When I found out about this great-grandmother of mine, I thought, what? You mean there was somebody who was mad like me in my family? Somebody who loved words, who loved books? I like this. I can wake up the suitcase. I started talking to different people, and we fundraised, and the literacy campaign started in 2001. We thought it would be one year or two. We never thought in 2023 we'd still be getting so many phone calls of people wanting books for their school libraries and even library boxes that they don't have. We have to start from scratch. But the Nozincwadi Festival, I'm so grateful now that we can have panels where we can discuss some of the things that matter to us when it comes to storytelling. And I wish to thank each and every one of you. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Uma found it important because what usually happens during Nozincwadi is we have performances. But what we found is that as much as we know the stories, it's important to know the stories behind the stories. We've said once more that we believe that artistry is spiritual. And we thought it would be an interesting topic to then have people that are highly prolific, that have changed people's lives beyond themselves through art, to gather in one room and to discuss such topics, and then to give you guys an opportunity to be able to engage with them and to also share your opinions.
I'd like to ask each and every one, ngiyabonga Sister Pretty, ngiyabonga, each and every one of our panelists to share with us how they see the theme for this year, the flowing river of ancestral wisdoms. We talk about the river that we drink from, depending on where you come from. I come from Hammersdale. I drink umfula mncadodo. That's the river I drink from. That's where I grew up. When I lived with my mother's family in the Eastern Cape, I used to drink from umchazi. This is where the umchazi starts, in the village where my mother lived, and that river flowed to Umzimvubu. Umzimvubu joined Umzimkulu. Umzimkulu flowed all the way to the welcoming arms of the Indian Ocean. And so that is the thing that always inspired me about how the rivers flow and inspire us, and they heal us, like what Sabonga's story spoke. And then the other way of looking at this, the river is something spiritual, something poetic, something unique, because there are people who make you who you are, who inspired you, whether they're in your biological family, whether they're in your community, maybe in your university, maybe in the artistic space where you are operating, but there are people who inspired you. I'd like to start right next to me with Zoe, and we're going to travel all the way to the end to Ngiyabonga. Enkosi kakhulu.
Thank you, Mama. When I saw this topic, it took me to a place where I had to discuss with myself. I drink from River Nile. River Nile is the longest river. Is it in Africa? And this river, its source is in Uganda. And it flows all the way to Egypt. And this river is a mother to many small rivers that pour into our villages. And this topic brought a story back to me, a memory. There's a river back home called Impologoma River. And when we were young, that river is with my grandmother's place, my maternal grandmother. When we were young, we loved to go to the beaches to swim and play, and also this river has stories of it swallows things because of the quicksand. So we had gone there, and as we were trying to swim, I almost drowned, and that's the reason why I can't swim today. I almost drowned. I remember the river, the water holding me, like thousands of hands were holding me, were choking me. And so that's the reason why I can't swim. Yeah. So yeah, and then I also thought about how we are so connected to where we come from, even when you try to hide it. When I was a young girl, I was so urban. I never wanted anything to do with African stuff. African stuff was so local and so below standards. I had an accent all the way from Europe. I don't even know how I got it. And then we got to university. But in these dreams, I see myself. I would dream at night. I see myself before thousands of people. I see myself talking to people, and I'm wondering, where did these dreams come from? Then we got to university. And at university, you know, artists are sharp heads. I was a very sharp head. I was always the best in school. So my family thought I'm fit to be a doctor because I did everything well. But then I can't dissect a cockroach because I hate blood. So they allow me to do math. So at university, I'm doing statistics. But every time there is a performance somewhere, I'm there. I love the microphone. I'm speaking. And the minute I open my voice, the world goes silent. And everybody wants to listen to my voice. So they started coming to me and telling me, by the way, you should do more of storytelling. But no, I had something that I've been taught. I had been fed When I finish school, I get into an office, I will wear suits, high heels, have a family, move away from Africa and go to the lands of opportunities. That's what I have been fed, you know. I didn't want to do other things. And then one day while I was walking, we were done with university and now it was time to face the world. I heard a voice. This when I speak, every time I'm before newspaper people and they're asking me, how did you become a storyteller? And when they're interviewing me, when I say this, the attention shifts and I know they don't believe me. I heard the voice. The voice told me, become a storyteller. I heard it. I looked around. I know I did. And then I'm like, a storyteller? How am I going to live? How will I earn becoming a storyteller? But then as I was walking, I met 2-3 people. They told me the same thing, but still I dodged that. So I went on and started looking for, is it blue collar jobs or white collar? The office kind of job.
Is it white collar?
It's white collar. Yes, so I went for the jobs but I was frustrated. The first job I did, I was an administrator, a receptionist. But every time someone came to visit the organization, I would write about them. I would write what I imagine about them, a story about them. And I would always get in trouble with the owner of the organization. And then, so I decided I would always hide in the washrooms and write. And she would always find me mimicking, like I'm speaking before people. And I always got into trouble until I had to leave. Then I got other jobs, the same story. And every time I woke up, I would have this burden. I'm doing something wrong. And that's how I became a storyteller. But little did I know that my grandmother, who used to tell me stories in the village, she's the village storyteller. Now you see. So as the world pulls me into storytelling, I begin storytelling. And then invitations coming. So then I begin singing, and I'm wondering, meanwhile at home, they repel what I do. They feel they wasted money. Up to now, there are relatives who don't speak, who do not like me, because they feel I wasted tuition to become an artist, you know? So then I wonder, as I begin music, I'm wondering, who is like me? Why am I like this? My big brother was all those things. He was a doctor, a music writer, and they depressed him until he died because they feel taking arts, you are rebellious. So I began wondering. Then they told me, my dad used to play instruments at school. You understand? Now it is calling me. So as I became older, my heart started to desire to go back home to the local people. Now I started to wear more like where I come from. It was calling me. And then when I get a pen to write, usually it's in the wee hours, the stories that come to me, Mama Africa is calling her children back, and I'm writing. Now the river is calling me. And these are the things that came back to me when I looked at the theme.
For this year.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Put Jerry. Hey. The river.
The river. When Umam Gcina asked me to talk, I firstly thought of the rivers, different rivers, and what do we drink in these rivers? Because the water can be the same, but the water doesn't taste the same from all these different rivers. I grew up in Soweto, Naledi extension. We normally don't have rivers in the township, but for some reason, we have a Merafi River next to my house, next to my home. And the community even put money together because that river was notorious of kids drowning when they're crossing it. So the community came together. I remember for 2 years, they were collecting 2 rands a week, each family. in order to build a river and a bridge to cross that river. Because before you go to the train station, you had to cross that river. There was no way you could get to a train before you crossed the river. And later in life, I learned that that river taught me what I drank from that river is community spirit, because the community was together. And at that time, for you to do anything, you were just coming together and do things. We never depended on government. We never depended on funding. We never depended on anything but ourselves as a community. So I think in that river, that's what I drank. And the resilience of not giving up, because the community never gave up. It took us 5 years as a community to build that bridge, but the bridge was there at the end. It might not be a fancy bridge, but it was a bridge for us to cross. So I've learned that. Then when I was 16, I was too much on a toy, and I thought I would save the world. And my mom just looked at me all the time, very quietly. And then one day in the morning, they said to me, at 6 o'clock, you are going to KZN. I was 16. And I say, we don't have a family in KZN. He said, no. You are going to wear this clothes and Nella's child. Yeah, and also child. Because the lady that's going to fetch you from the station doesn't know you. They're going to identify you with these things. Ichali Elali is coach. I got into the train crying because ngitshela nje uma uyangilahla ke manje. Ungilahla isiZulu uyangilahla nje. You know, and the train, when you got it at 6 in the evening, it arrived at 6 in the morning. La at Durban. Ayimang phuma nang lo aunt. Wengane yami, wena umpho. Umpho. Phela thina angazi ukuthi ngumpho. Umpho. Ah. Yabona la. And then yimi nathi asambe. Sambe siye ebhasini kanti ngisemzinyathi ibhasi. Emzinyathi ngafika ngaphuza ke emfuleni umzinyathi. Then that was the real river ke manje, umzinyathi. And what I learned in drinking from that river, ngafika kabi kuzoba nezikhukhula. And also the community came together there, and it was terrible. But I've learned ukuhamba for about 30 minutes walking from Mzinyathi to Mqhawe esikolweni. Walking, you know, into engangayijwayele elokishini. You know, ngafunda ukubekezela, you know. Nokuyithanda ke, because mawuhamba eMzinyathi ngeenyawo, amabhasi ayefike ashaya ngeintuli, bese thina siqhama ngapha ngeMzinyathi sibe neintuli la. You know. So first thing mawufika esikolweni sasiqala etoilet. So wait, because but I still want to continue with my fighting. That's when I learned to write. Then I started writing and I fought with the pen from then on. And the last river I drank from Mamtina Omingate, because I went and I lectured at DUT. I became artistic director of Windy Brow, Parkoffs. But My life rotated and I ended up back where I was coming from, Mzinyati. Ngcolosi. And that's when I decided that it means I'm meant to be here. And my drinking from Umgeni River was serving the community. And that's what I'm doing now. So that's my story. And the river.
This Ngolosi is a very important name as well because the Bengu people come from there. Anybody from Bengu here? One day we will meet and talk about people that we never want to forget. And another one of those people, Bengu, Ngolosi, the wife of Chief Albert Lutuli, another heavyweight of a woman, because she was softly spoken, did not mean she was not a fighter. People misunderstand this thing. They think people who talk a lot are stronger. There are people who are quiet who talk with actions. So Ngolosi is a very important surname in my book. Sister Janetta, here you are.
Okay, well, hello, can you hear me? Yes, so when I thought about the theme, because I come from Boston, Massachusetts, and the only river that I can think of is the Charles River, and you don't want to drink from there. So we drink from a reservoir, but I had to go on this journey in my thoughts because I wanted to envision, because I'm a visual artist, I wanted to close my eyes and envision what this river of ancestors would look like. And I thought that, wow, it's a group, this river that came from Africa, my ancestors, that crossed this, great river with this horrible experience they had to go through to get here to the United States, the Middle Passage. I had to think about all those rivers and streams and oceans and how they had to really suffer to get here and to land, my ancestors land in this, place called Houston, Texas. And I thought about all the things that they had to go through in order to get there and to become who they were. And I had to think of all my mentors along the way, all the people who helped me get to where I am, and how they had to learn. And they brought their culture and they brought everything with them so that they can learn how to survive in this new land that they have. And they were forced to survive in. And then I think about all times my grandparents, my parents, and my mentors and cousins and aunts and uncles told me about this way of giving language into us and telling us how this all happened as much as they knew, because we could only go back to my great-great-grandmother, and that's as far as we can go back in our history. And I think about all of that, and I think about how what they told me inspired everything that I do and who I am today. So I have to think about that in a way that I tell young people. I said, knowledge is everything. I said, when you see this gray hair, that's knowledge in this gray hair. Okay, so listen to your ancestors, listen to your mentors, listen to the people. They will give you the right direction, and listen to that river. You can hear it in your mind. Just close your eyes, and it's constantly flowing. I wanted to talk a little bit about my mentor. His name was Alan Rohan Crite, and he was my mentor. He was also Susan Thompson's mentor, and he mentored all the young people in Boston, Massachusetts who wanted to be artists and those who were inspired to be artists. And we had this kind of connection that was kind of interesting. We would look at television together, but not in the same place on the telephone. And I would see something on television and I would call him and say, Mr. Crite, there's something on television. He'll say, what? And I said, it's on this channel, turn this channel, and it could be something about the Vietnam War or history or something like that. And he would give me a historical overview that I did not learn in school. It was such a special time for us. And I wanted to talk about this one time that I was looking at this channel we call PBS, and it's public broadcasting. And they were doing this documentary on this woman giving birth in a birthing pool. And so I called Mr. Crichton. I said, Mr. Crichton, this woman's giving birth in the bath water or something like that. And of course, he said, what channel? And we started talking about it. And we was watching this woman giving birth. And after the baby was born, I said, oh, they got to take the baby out of the water, the baby's going to die. And he says, the baby is not going to die. He said, we're conceived in water. The baby lives in water. The baby is born in water. The baby will have a better birth in water. The baby is connected to the mother's umbilical cord. The baby can live in the water as long as the baby is connected to the umbilical cord. Water is life. It's all giving. And I said, but people die in water. He said, and that's a part of life too. Beautiful. So recently, I've been seeing all of this thing about immigration, deportation, all of that. And it made me so angry that I started to do some work just documenting that through storytelling. I tell my own stories through my art. And I thought, wow, water is life, water is death, but how can we separate people from water, separate them from their children? Mothers from children, fathers from children. And we're talking about how this is our country and we don't want these people to come in when we took the land from them in the first place. How dare that happen? And I really started documenting it in my artwork, and I'm working on this series called Pray for Refuge. And in order for me to do this type of work, I have to do a lot of reading and research and things like that. And I did read this book by this artist, and she was an artist in residence at the Gardner Museum, and her name was Edwidge Dandekam. Yes, she's a Haitian writer, and she wrote this book of short stories, and one of them was about how these Haitians were coming over to the United States, and they had this makeshift boat, and it was an arduous journey, and slowly towards the end, the boat started taking on water, and they dumped all their personal items out so that boat can stay afloat. Then they started going towards the end, and they started taking cans and trying to get the water out the boat. And I was getting so happy. I wanted to hear what happened to the people at the end, and she ended it right there. And I was like, wait a minute, is there a sequel to this story? I want to know what happened to these people. And I thought about it, and I said, wait a minute, it's not about her story, it's about our story. We have to make a decision on what we think happened to the people. Did they live? Did they survive? Did they die? It's all in what you see. And that's how I taught children in the museum. It's not, when you go into a museum, you don't immediately look at a work of art for 2 seconds, go read the label and see what somebody else tells you what you're supposed to see. Look at the artwork. Don't read the labels. Look at the artwork and look at it and come up with your own story. You can ask yourself these 3 questions while you're looking at the artwork. What do I see going on in this painting? Use your words. What do I see going on in this painting? Some kids will say, oh, I see a stone. What makes you say that's a stone? Use your words to tell me what you see. Well, it's a stone because what? Tell me the shapes. Tell me the colors. I see a tree. What makes you say that's a tree? Use your words. And what else more can we find? Look deeper. Then go look at the label and see how close you came to what you already saw. Make up your own stories by what you see. There's no beginning, ending, is what you envision. And that's why I work with kids. I love it. And that's my part of my story.
Njomande. Uyawusaba umfula noma uyawuthanda umfula? Ithini indaba ngomfula bhuti? Ake sizwe.
How much time do we have? Oh, 3 hours. I'll try to summarize. In the beginning, greetings everyone. In the beginning, when I arrived here, I was a little bit worried because I was seeing middle age in us, and I was not seeing young people. And but as time goes on, then I started to see young people, and I was like, okay, yeah, now okay, because what you are asking about in relation to the theme is yesterday's stories that were left for us, which we are now telling today. And I was thinking of tomorrow's people, what's today's story they will be telling if they are not here? Because we'll be leaving those stories for them so that they will tell them for tomorrow. So when coming back, but I'm okay now because I'm seeing the griots that are going to take it from here, from you. We are so inspired by Umam Gcina, Dawatela, and we're grateful of this opportunity. I watched when I was young a film. She was a lead character. And I was telling Mam Sokavas yesterday that we must rescreen that movie, The Place of Weeping. That's where you'll start to understand the storytelling chain of her. Mina, I was born in Melmoth, Mthonjaneni. I don't like to call the Melmoth because Melmoth is a colonizer of the area there, Osborne Melmoth. The area is Mthonjaneni because there are many small rivers there. That's why it's called Mthonjaneni, Mtombo, Mning. Yes, that's where I come from. And what is also common about my connection with Umam Gcina is that my grandmother from my father's side is Mchunu, Mam Mchunu. And she's one where who made me to drink a lot from her. A river that I used to cross when I was going to school, not like Jerry Boy, because he's from the township. I used to walk 5 kilometers going to school, 5 kilometers coming back. So the 10 kilometers each day. So perseverance come from there. And the river is Koboga. Koboga just comes out because they were saying that you just, you know, when we have the goosebumps, they just come. You don't know where they come from, they just come. So the river is Koboga. And from my mother's side, which is Ngema's side, there was a river called Umkhawulantsizwa. That's a long name. Umkhawulantsizwa. Yeah. The shaking hands of, you know, the young men. Wow, you know, brave men. Our homestead was in between Koboga and the other one, Umkovuzo. So those are rivers that I drank from when we were, you know, hitting the goats. And they all, interestingly, these two ones, Mkhawulantsizwa, Umkovuzo, they join Koboga, and Koboga runs down to Umhlatuze, and Umhlatuze will run down to the sea. And I did not know that Umhlatuze was named after our great ancestor from the Langeni people, because our surname, proper surname is Langeni. Mhlongo is a chief who was popular. And then we said, ask Ngabaka Mhlongo, and then we end up dwarfing the Langeni. Actually, us and the Dlaminis are one people. The Dlaminis from Swazi. But the Dlaminis, we came from Sudan. Sudan, we are people of the south. That's why you are Langeni people. And then we moved to what is called DRC now. And then we moved to Kenya. In Kenya, we met the Mkize, Amambo. And then Amambo, they separated into two. The others went up west, and they today called the Igbo. Those are Mambo, those are Mkizes. Igbo, they're in Nigeria. And then the other Mambo moved downwards with us. Because like us, they were farmers. We came with this big banana. I don't know whether we still have here. We're the only people who were farming that big banana called to cover. So we brought that banana here. So that's the original banana. I don't know whether you've seen that one. Young people will never, I don't know whether you see, it's a nice one. You eat one, you full for the whole day. You don't need another banana or another food. So it's called cover, cover. So our Langeni people were farmers of that. And when they were coming down with the Amambo, Twabes, Amambo, then they later became Mkize because they named their elder son Mkize because they were following the Umkizo, Wemvula. So where there is rain, then they were following that. And that's where the Mkize thing comes from. We separated in Mozambique, us in Mangus, what is called Mangus today. And then we came north, we came to Mtonjaneni area. And then the other Langenis went to the country called now Swaziland. And when they got their freedom from the British, they said, no, we're no longer going to go back to our original surname Langeni. But we are going to honor that heritage by calling our currents Amalangeni, because that's where we come from. So those are the stories that I drank from my grandmother when she was telling me about that and who you need to know who you are. Then I came to Kwamashu, the township of Kwamashu. It's now Ngawini. Interestingly about Kwamashu and me, I've just completed a book called Heritage Streets of Kwamashu. And I was staying at Section D for about 21 years there. And the whole section is named after the mountains. I'm coming from, my mountain at my home is called Nkwenkwe, not Nkwenkwe Xhosa. It's Nkwenkwe, Nkwenkwe, because they say when it was dry, there was no water from Kubuga River, then they sent somebody to go on top of that mountain to check whether there's water there. And when he came back, they were so hopeful that he would say, no, there's water up there. And then when he came back, he said, no, go Nkwe, Nkwe. And then, and then the name Nkwe, then became the Nkwenkwe Mountain. So it was like an insult to the name. That's dry, you don't have water. Nkwenkwe. So, you know, yeah. So, but doing this book research, I've studied rivers. I recognize that Kwamashu is so rich when it comes to preservation of the heritage. That's why their street names were never changed. Because where we built our center, it's about Imkito, traditional dances, everything that is tradition. And it was such a nice coincidence that center was built there. Because it's an art center, it's about Imkito, it's about traditions, about heritage, about the whole section. Each and every street is named after that. And then you go to section C, it's about the rivers. I went to Mkomazi, I went to Umfolozi, went to many rivers because I wanted to understand why that name was called Amanzimdoti. And then there is a road called Manzimdoti. But when you ask people in the same streets, why is it called Manzimdoti? Nobody knows. Say, no, Manzimdoti. What is Manzimdoti? Nobody knows. And then there's a street name called Tugela. Why is it called Tugela? now there's a river somewhere together, but I went to Tugela area and asked the people there why this river is called Tugela, and none know. Very few people. I was like coming with the information. But I'm a township person, you know. Luckily, I'm from Tonjaneni. So I learned a lot, and I realized the importance of the rivers. I said, our ancestors, they left us a huge heritage which we're not appreciating. By naming the rivers, by naming the mountains, they've written something which we can't read because we've forgotten our language. And in the language, there's a lot of message that is embedded there. But if we don't know our language, then we will never understand that Amazimtoti is about respect. Shaga was, when he came across that river, he tasted it and then said, this water is so sweet and nice. But he couldn't say Amanzi, I'm Nandi, because he was respecting his mother, Nandi. And then he created a name from there and say Amanzi, I'm Toti, which is equal to sweet. The water is also sweet. And that is about respect. And then if we forget about that, that flowing river of respect and respecting the elders, then we will have problems. And Umlazi, before he came to Mazimdoti, he crossed Umlazi, and Umlaza, and he said, oh, this water is sour. So Umlaza, not Umlazi, Umlaza, sour. And you go on and on about the footprints of Shaga to Otongati. Utongati means nothing when you say it like that. Tongati, it means nothing. But when you say Utongati, it makes sense. And again, he just came across that river and he jumped from the other side of the river to the other side. And he said, this river is nothing. It's nothing. It's so small. I can just jump and cross there. And the people of the area said, no, even though you can do that in Ndabezitha, but these rivers is something because of us. Uwuto ngati. And then that. But when you say the Utongati, it means Tongati, it means nothing. So I've drank from these ancestral rivers and I realized that these are stories. It's about storytelling. There are a lot of stories you can tell about all those rivers. The last one would be about the Sandwana because it didn't make sense to me. Again, I was asking people there, Sandwana, because there's a street called Sandwana in Section D. I said, why is this place, this mountain called Sandwana? And people, no, it's just Sandwana. And I went to a lot of people, even the museum people didn't know that. And I came across one of the older person as you go to, what is the center there? Rock Drift Center. Yeah. Yeah, and then I asked, just stop the car. Why that mountain was called Isandran? He said, no. The original name of that mountain is not Isandran. It's Bayavungama. That's the original name, Bayavungama. Bayavungam. People are rambling, saying something. And because when the British was attacking in the area there, then the local area, local people there, they saw a lot of small tents next to the mountain there. And then they said, those tents are like the houses, but they're not houses. They are, in Zulu, you say, Isandlwana. It's not a proper house, Isandlwana. Not Isandlwana, Isandlwana. So, and it became popular, and then Isandlwana, Isandlwana. So when you say Isandlwana, it's a small house, not a proper, it's a small one. So we are reducing it. So, you see, I'm a storyteller now. Yeah, thank you.
I am so lucky to be seated next to the storyteller here who just gave me so much information. What came to my mind when this theme was actually given were two people first. My grandmother, who decided that we repatriated or relocated from Dungan village to stay in Tsomo with her from a young age of 4. When I said I remember the stories from that time, I remember how the journey to a strange village of Apangolosa was something like a dream. Because I had left my mother saying the goodbyes in a very funny way from a bus where she was not really open about my brother and myself being taken or repatriated to the rural areas. So the R of the river meant that my roots were meant to be, because I was, for a good reason, given to someone who was going to give me a voice to tell the stories. That's the first person, my grandmother. Because the first river that we crossed, which I remember when we were walking, no school bus, we were not on a scholar transport or any kind. We walked from next a big forest to the village, and we went down the Nzinge River to my village, and it was the first time I saw the rondavels. There comes another R of the river, because that was the first time I saw the rondavels, because I was born in that matchbox house in Dungan village, where I could hear what the other person was saying from next door. Then your theme now said to me that rivers are our roots, because they actually take us back to the memories of our childhood. I was also inspired, the eye in the river, by the fact that my mother was a very beautiful storyteller-ness. She told stories of her nursing job, which was very difficult during those times. I remember when she told me that she had to walk to Tsomo to sell amazele, which you call umoba, with my uncle, for her to study to be a nurse. My uncle was a vibrant gentleman who was carrying amazele, umoba, to sell to Tsomo in town. And my mother was the shy girl who was like wondering, how on earth am I going to be inspired to sell something that people have in their gardens for me to go to school? How are they going to buy it? And then my uncle proved her wrong, because my uncle was all over saying, mazela nencasa, amnandi, wozani nonke nizothenga. And everyone was hopping off from the bus to buy something that they have in their gardens, from their gardens, from their roots. But because of the inspiration that my uncle gave when he was marketing amazele, people came in bulks to buy amazele. And my mother says that in her story, she went back with her bundle of amazele under her arm, because she couldn't sell, because she was shy, but she had this pain that, oh my God, my father is going to lambast at me for not selling enough for me to go to Mgwali, because she had to cross the Mgwali river to go study Mgwali, but she needed money. And then now she was busy begging my uncle, can you please try to sell my amazele before we cross the Ngongolocha river back home. Remember? Now I am talking about the R, I in the river. So, because of that inspiration that she learned from her brother, that actually this person can sell the Amazele better than myself, let me ask for help because I want to cross the Mgwali River to become an S. And then my uncle said, if you are sure that you want me to sell your Amazele, you better know that when I sell all the Amazele, you are going to give me all the money. And she was worried that where am I going to get the money now to go to school if I give you all the money? To cut the story short, this meant that the name river also carries the values that we have of asking for help from someone. The relative, the relationship between my uncle and my mother meant that they could help each other to grow and go forward and build their future together. Miraculously, when they went back home, crossing the Ngongologa River back home, all the Amazele were sold, and she managed to go and study and cross the Mgwali River to become the nurse. Miraculously, when she passed, this is the second person, the third person now. I counted my grandmother, my uncle, and my mother. When she passed, my mother, she was gasping, and there were numbers that were coming from the wall clock that was in the hospital ward. 1853, 54, 55, 56, 57. And miraculously, that number is my story, 1856, because it is the house that we left in Mdanzane. Mdanzane as the second home after the people from Dangan village were moved forcefully from Dangan village to leave their land where my father was also a Selusa in Komo. My father also as a storyteller. I am counting the storytellers through this river that you gave to me. My father narrated a story that they walked from Emunti, the Kuba Inkomo of a person who was farming, but when the white people wanted the land, they said everyone must take their Inkomos to the village. They must take the cattle to the villages. And then my father, only a standard 3 guy, was taking those cattle belonging to this learned man from East London to Engamakwe. Now you might wonder that my father crossed another river to take the cattle that belonged to this gentleman who was a wealthy man, then whose land was taken but had to move and cross Iniba ahambe aye kwilizwe elitsha ayokuhlala ezilalini. Now we're talking the segregation policy, when people were moved from the rich land that was there, Emonti, and then now they had to start a new life and their cattle had to go. And my father walked, and he tells me that inyawo zam mntanam zazidumbile, hence he is called Nyawo Lemfene. I value him as a great storyteller who is still alive after my mother passed. And then this also told me that these voices that I used in my storytelling, the S in the rivers, are the voices of all the people who inspired me to become a storyteller. Because now there is this energy that is imbued in me as a young girl to actually remember, to actually inspire, to actually work with children. So the theme is beautiful because it also says that I am an agent of change that has to be the R of that river of regeneration, of the moral regeneration, because stories carry the values and are a weapon for moral regeneration. And because I'm also an author, through the pen, I got the healing by writing down the stories, because rivers also heal, and rivers do not go in a straight line. Rivers meander between Ingringongo, Amatye, Amawa, up and down, and close to the mountains. Now, there are challenges when these rivers flow. Some rivers, they dry like all the land that is dry. that is barren, that we no longer cultivate because of the 350 of the grants and everything. Your topic is very, very touching, my lady, because now we are trying to revive the spirit of plowing. When I studied storytelling, which was already in me because it was the first R in my roots, I came across another river which is called Ikwaninga because of the great grandmother Nongenile Mastatu Zenani, whose stories are at the University of Madison, the stories that were researched by Professor Harold Schwab, I tried to repatriate through my PhD. That Koninga River now is a dangerous place, although when Nongenile Mastatu Zenani crossed the river when she was going to get married, inkomo yakhe ewayekhathwa ngayo yazihambela ukuya ekwendeni bafika seyingaphambili. So which means that she was going to be accepted by the in-laws because inkomo yakhe was actually Imkokela was the first to cross the Kwaninga River. So for me, it said to me, I am relevant as a storyteller. I am reliable. At the same time, I am an agent of change with or without money. Because storytelling is culture, storytelling is spirit. Yes, we do need the money. People have to pay for the stories because our stories are getting stolen by people who actually turn them into something else and give them to us because Tina, we are thinking that they are not important. Zemkingomo magwalandini, zemkingomo magwalandini. Your topic, my lady, is very inspiring and powerful. The rivers that flow, it is not going to be an easy journey because rivers flow. That is why your journey, we're learning from Nozincwadi that the journey of your storytelling and writing is not easy. And our journeys as writers and authors and storytellers are not easy because we have forgotten our roots and the past. That is why we are gathered here. We are trying to revive without being apologetic. Thank you.
Before ngibuyisele kuSispirit, I'm going to request that the panelists here think about us having a full day of dealing with these subjects. Because storytelling in my country is seen as that part of the creative arts in the ladder, starting with music and all the way to the bottom of the soles of our shoes. That's where they put storytelling. You can never be a fine artist if you don't have a story to tell. You can be a fashion designer if you don't have a story to tell. You can't be a chef if you don't have a story to tell. Because through the food that you create, you tell stories. So many things that we do. Dancers, they've got to tell stories. It doesn't matter whether you want to write a play or a movie or a what, you need a story. If you don't have a story, I don't know what you're going to be doing. I'm going to request that our panelists, let's have another day where we go through a full day to talk about the value of our stories and the rivers that we cross and the rivers we've been drinking from. I'm requesting you to do that. Sizocela iPenancy uSispirit athathe over.
That was a lot of food for thought. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it was a lot of food for thought. Ngikuzwile Babu Edmund ngizohlala phansi. Very fruitful. A big thank you to our panelists. I think they've given us a lot to think about. At this moment, because of time, we are pressed for time and we're limited, but we'd like to give 15 minutes. It's now 15:15 until past, where we get some of your views and your opinions, and maybe your stories about the rivers from where you drink from, and maybe what you've been able to take away from the panelists and their stories. Anybody that would like to share, please? Yes? Okay. Or please introduce yourself first.
Molweni, ndiyabulisa kuni nonke. Igama lam ndinguBongiswa Khotara Mshwana. I am a storyteller based in Pretoria. You know, I saw this theme of the rivers that flow through our ancestors, and my first thought was, of course, we're talking about our whereabouts and where we come from, our ancestors and our generations. And for me, it drew a picture because when I visualized a river, I saw a journey. And picking up from what the panelists have said just now, for me, then I thought, wow, probably I was in the right track because I thought of a story about my aunt, Nomatamsang, who was Igricha, who came out of the waters, and I saw her. I was only 5 years old. And every time when I tell that story, even my mother still doesn't believe because my grandmother took me coming from Ukutwasa. Ephume emanzini omekere, she was not wet. She came out dry, but dressed up in a beautiful Xhosa attire. And the first thing she did as she was passing through, she used to hold Ikriya and Mhlophe. And as she passed, she hit me on my shoulders 3 times. And from that day onwards, I believe that she instilled something in me. Because every time I'm like you, Zoe, I hear a voice speak to me to give me direction in my life. How I got to become a storyteller, how I got to become a praise poet, how I got to do sign language and so forth, and many other things that I do. And when I need to cross into a new path in my life, or take a new journey, or asking for direction after I prayed to Umvilingang and asked my ancestors of direction, and whenever I'm lost, I always feel 3 taps on my shoulders. Now to hear a voice speaking to me, giving me direction on whatever that I need to hear. And for me, this then brought me back to that day, and I would say, wow, that was my journey. That's the river I drank from. That's the river I'm still drinking from. And for me, it has brought me to where I am and shaped and molded me to be the person that I am. I believe that she still walks with me in my journey of life. Even though she's no longer with us, she died. When I wrote the story, Ndibizwe Ngabadala, I wrote a story of a life. And whenever I go back to that day, even now, my own mother still doesn't believe. Even though her mother went back and told her that she was there, she was correct, and she would still question Ukuthi, how can a 5-year-old still remember so clearly each and every incident? This is a story, Mama, I have come to tell. I have been waiting for you. I've told the story before once. It's not an easy story to tell. Whenever I tell it, I still feel goosebumps. I still feel as if she's behind me, still tapping me off my shoulders. So all I want to say is, as Africans, we are so blessed to sing abantu abamnyama. We walk with our elders. We hear the voices. We have guidance. And if we can listen to that voice and remember the rivers that we drank from, understanding that we are not lost. We are who we are because of those that came before us. So continue to drink from your river. Baba Ndiyabulela, because I've learned so many things from you. Because I didn't understand the names you write. If we don't know our languages, then we are lost. So for me, that is another river that I drank from today. Usisi Nompocuko, Dr. Zagaza, you know, we drink from these rivers. Okay. Diabulela, Mom. So I just want to say thank you so much. And I just wanted to share that and say something.
Ambusiwe vela bavuye Machezi phezu kwentaba yabathu phansi kwentaba zenkonkobe utsolo ndisela umlambo umdilingo okuthulula amanzi angene inqu ingene emthatha umthatha ungena embhashi shihamba. Yatombuka inamba. Laphuthuma izulu. Ephakile egagazini. Bazashukela nobhanana. Senjile. Sizawuqabela inkantosi. Siqabela umnanza. Yansisa itheka le ntombazane inokugcina. Yaphakathi. Yaphufutheka le ntombazana isindwa ngumthwalo wencwadi. Young storytellers, young writers, come and cut the pattern. Unakupina lo. Kuchuchuchu. Kumakakhompha. Kumakadebona. Hambilizwe. Hambizizwe. Pheshakazilwandle. Zonke indawo. We are the rainbow nation. Tell your story. I'll tell my story. Your story will heal us. Mamhlophe. Kuyakhanya. Kuyakhanya. Kuphutha izulu. Abanye belesaba. Kumanyono. Intombi ezenza umnyama. Ezabafokazi zona. Zenza nesifingo. Xa uzawukhanya uqala uvela isifingo. Ubezalwa ngobani? Ngotshezi, ngombamba, ngokhabela, ngonjilonjilo, ngomkalunga ngonjuku, ngofudo elifakade. Omakubani. Hansukani bantu baseThekwini, niyazithanda iindaba, khani ndiyeke kantifu, nditshaye. Singavaya, sizinqoba mqaka, singangamcini, sizihandiba, zithwalandwe, ngezam, ho.
Oh, hey, ayingeke. Hayi impela. If anybody brave enough to also share their opinion after that beautiful expression, I'd like to hear from the young people. Can I put you on the spot? Ngize straight kuwe. No.
Okay, hello, my name is Pupelihle, which means a beautiful dream. But to my mom, she said that it means a beautiful vision, which is actually ironic because my mom is blind. Okay, so yeah, she said that she knows Nozincwadi because you did say that you've written a book in Braille, right? Yes. So when I called her and told her, Umganami invited me to Nozincwadi, she was excited because unfortunately, ngiyaxolisa, I don't read, but after listening to everything that abantu abadala have been saying, it's very inspiring to see ukuthi incwadi and just knowledge in general, how much it can do to you and for you. So I am currently enrolled in DUT. I'm doing my advanced diploma in supply chain management. Okay, so let me tell you about my mom, Kangan. So my mom was born blind, as I said. My mom initially wanted to be a lawyer, but unfortunately, with the lack of resources for blind people, which is why I highly appreciate what you did, Ngam Gabriel, she was unable to carry on her studies with law. So she ended up becoming a teacher. Then she taught for a couple of years at a school called, huh? Sorry, I forgot, but it's in Changa. It's in Changa. It's in Changa. It's a school for the disabled. So she taught there for like a couple, I think like 20 years or something. Mm. No, it's not that one. Okay. Yeah, she taught there for a couple of, well, not a couple, more than like 20 years. And now my mom is blind, like I said, but she is actually an assistant director at the Department of Culture. So my mom showed me, Uguti, in life, you shouldn't allow any hinders or anything that could stop you from becoming the best version of yourself to actually stop you. But but instead, umaphanga but ushadele kwangithi. Maphanga. Yes, but ushadele kwangithi. So she taught me that, and it has inspired me a lot in my life, because I'm fearless. Really, I'm overly confident because of her, and I've got such a great relationship with my mother. Anyone who sees me with my mom is always like, "Cha, ave iyinhle into oyenzela uma wakho," because I will take my mom to the best restaurants, dress up with her, and we'll just look beautiful with my brother. Other parents haven't experienced that, and I was fortunate, and that's when I learned Uguti. Actually, maybe my mom is better than other moms, personally.
Siloke sisho sithi everybody is a storyteller. People have stories to tell. Now there's another hand. Yabona-ke abantu abasha, the young ones.
Sanibonani molweni. Nguthetha noMasibulele Nhlanga. Ngibethwa kuthiwa ikhwele noba sisikhwele no asona isikhwele likhwele to see ukuthi no male esukumayo, only 3 females in front of me abasukumayo, so ngithi hayi nami manivele. I'm so inspired by uDabs. Mina bengawazi kwa umfula lo umchazi, besazi thina umkhobeni, because there is a big forest around the village yethu. Yes, so besazi wona ukuthi umkhobeni musuka ujoin abani ujoin ebani ushone kephi. We didn't know all of that, but all in all, we got inspired by a lot of our speakers wethu today. In this Kataskulak Zulu words, they get translated to English, and we ended up losing the value and the meaning of it. Because we are gonna manje sihle nano sinotokozo. When we talk about utongati, it's tongat, it's English, it's written in English. Kanti yabona manje mase siyichazelwa kuthiwa utho ngati. Now we understand. Thank you so much. You know, there's a lot in books. There's a lot. When no auntie started this Nozincwadi thing, we didn't have that in our background. What is an information needs ezosiza. And we thank you so much. We thank you so much. The way that you just paved. Awuyipheyvelanga wena kuphela, awuyipheyvelanga wena with your family. You just paved it for South Africa yonke. And we're so proud. We're really, really proud. We're proud about our storytellers wonke all over the world. We see guys your work. We see your work. Mina ke bengayena umuntu ubezithanda izinto like, hey, u-anti uyakufaka ezintweni.
Today nami nginazo incwadi engeke ngithi nje mangiyibona ngifike ukuthi kunencwadi ngiyayifuna ke le and angizuhamba ngayitholanga because there's a lot of information that we find ezincwadini. In our days we so into technology and it's driving us astray. Yet incwadi zine information eningi engasisiza because in our days when you go to technology, the minute you get onto Google, uGoogle uzokubonisa into obungayifuni. Awukakayisearch kwale ubuyifuna. Kanti when you go to a book, you're going to find something that is going to help you in the near future. Thank you so much, storytellers. Keep on doing the great job. Thank you.
You know, when other people have birthdays, you know, they just call people together. Go Brayo Kshisinyam. Hayi ke. Makuyi birthday ka Dr. Gcinamasiko. Ziyamporoma, ziyabuya ngampela. Siloke sifunde eziyakhipha ma. Uthi uzwisa ngala knowledge. Hey nansi ngala. Uthi ushaya ivosho ngalana ngokunye. Ithi ngalani knowledge. Siyabonga kakhulu. Before we close, akekho umuntu engimvalela ngaphandle in terms of giving the audience feedback. Ake. Ukhona? Oh. Ake kungabi khona umuntu ovalekele ngaphandle.
Thank you. I'll be short. Because ngingaze ngikumoshele isikhathi, ne? I believe that storytelling or arts as a whole is spiritual. And many people say that we are human beings experiencing a spiritual journey. But I believe that we are spiritual beings experiencing a human experience, basically. Because if I say this is my hands and these are my eyes, the question will be, then who am I? Because this is not me, this belongs to me. So it means I'm a spiritual being. So if we all learn to understand that we are spiritual beings, so if we are spiritual beings, that means we are all the same. There's no one who's different, be it in weight, height, color, or whatsoever that you may say it. It's just that we are not all self-aware that we are those spiritual beings that God created us to be. That's why we see each other that maybe we are different, but we are one and the same thing, which is spiritual beings. And we are here to live this human form and be, the minute that you are true to yourself, that's where you understand that no one is different and no one is bigger than we are all equal. We are just here to experience this human form and then we go back because everything is borrowed, everything is spiritual. So one day we will have to return where God created us. Thank you.
Siyabonga kakhulu for that. We're now going to close off the audience participation session. And we would like to then invite our respondents. We have 2 respondents. I love Usakon. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Umama o Professor o Figil. Umazibuko khona. Okay. Umama njengoba ex-vice chancellor yase UniZulu and also part of humanities UKZN. We'd just like Uma to round off this topic and her thoughts as somebody who is in academia and somebody who also then is very prolific within the arts and humanities. Ukuzwa ivo lakho ma siyathanda nje ukuthi nawe siza ukuthi ucabanga kanjani. Sacela use ngaphambili ma.
keynote speaker. The Nozincwadi Storytelling Festival.
Sanibonani. Yebo sanibona. Ngizama bengikade ngizenzele nje ama-notes okunye. Nawo ingasavumi ama-notes ami. Kodwa gcina. Hayibo, uxolo kancane. Yebo, thank you for the opportunity. Angizu ukubeka yonke into ebengikade nje ngicabanga. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this seminar. Njengoba ugcina eseshilo, I was actually at the very first launch of Nozincwadi khona la Playhouse. This was 2008. I think at that time it was her 50th birthday. Ngise UKZN as DVC of the College of Humanities. I'm mentioning that because UKZN is actually a merger of a historically Indian university, Westville, UDW, and the University of Natal. And was the first DVC. After that merger, we had to disengage with both universities, siqale i-University entsha. In fact, even the name, University of KwaZulu-Natal, sing Ugadamus. And yeah, I was the chairperson of the ceremonies committee, changing the names and the regalia. The regalia yase UKZN, awugqoki ijazi lakho walithole eMadison noma eChicago. If you notice, even the metaboards, the gowns, the hood, it's African designs. And imbala le ekuma-hoods is the 8 faculties which started the university. Sasesiba ne-national, ne-graduation anthem yethu. Nanti hele longqondongqondo eyaqanjwa umnomia ongasekho njengamanje. But there was a lot of resistance. Nalo lo ihele lengqondongqondo is a very poetic name. So lento ye language goes a long way. And by the way, Zoe, we had the Department of Swahili. Later, very quickly, when there were financial problems in the country, the first department that was chopped off was a unit of Swahili. But we are going to go back to that. I wanted Gcina, just to in summary, I'm listening to all what is being said today. Just a few points. I wanted to say this is a very significant milestone and a phenomenal achievement. Ngiyazi awuthandi ukuthi kukhulunywe ngayo. For us as Africans, you are a global legend, a storyteller and performer, and we are very intrigued, some of us, by the way you are selfless. You care for other people. Actually, a getaway to ourselves. I think this year, I said here, Nozincwadi is a getaway to ourselves. It is a way of us negotiating our capabilities, our abilities, our resourcefulness, and our relationship with the environment. The theme, the rivers, actually was a very clear demonstration of how we engage with Mother Nature, with the environment. Lento engekho. And it is also bengifuna ukuthinta ilento national this national NDP, National Program for Development 2030, ne Africa Agenda 2063. And I think through Nozincwadi, we're going to be able to deal with the weaknesses of our NDP. Our NDP program, much as we sing praises about it, hoping that by 2030 we would have achieved it, it is very silent on culture and people-driven development. It is silent from the first chapter to the last chapter. Even the chapter 6-7, where it talks about Africa, it is silent. You would think there is something that you would pick that talk to what you are sharing with us. What you are sharing about with us today, Jomane, is actually history. History has been removed from history books and from schools. And history is very important. It's not a subject for idomo. It is very fundamental for our identity. Njengoba kade ebabaza uThongathi umntwana luyana, because all these names are actually very silent. These new names okukhulunywa embongotweni, umbongotweni. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Embongotweni. So I just made a point here, Guti. We can actually make a turnaround about what is often termed exclusive growth. There is very much, there is a lot of exclusivity in some of our documents, which are supposed to be taking us into the new South Africa. So that exclusivity is what we are addressing today. Njoba denizwa izinto eniziqalayo. The story you told, awuzange uzishika. Sorry, Shili, Phupelihle was what your mother said, the vision. We have certain perceptions about people with living with disabilities as if they have no brains. It's the same thing about people coming from rural areas. We even categorize them. Abantwana who come from rural areas are not foolish. It's the limited experience abanayo out of exclusivity and deprivation. Maubabega, they have shown in places ko-Oxford baba yiqembu abaphuma ko-Slangsproot nasezakhiweni, the great universities of this continent, especially the historically black universities in the US. They are not historically black universities like ours, which were exclusive. It's actually black empowerment by black universities. So this kind of umkhabulo, Gcina and our esteemed wise Africans and African Americans are very important ngoba sithola izinto esingayitholi kule ncwadi esizazi. Ziningi incwadi ezikhona esingazifundi kodwa singakwazi ukuzifunda nakwazi nozincwadi. Kade ngibuka nje lama title akho, angikholwa ukuthi khona abantu sebebayifunda incwadi zika-Bessie Head. Very telling books, but you won't understand incwadi zika-Bessie if you don't understand Africa. And today, one of the things also for me is that we can, out of what we've heard today, we can write our own social contracts. Ukuthi sifuna ukwenzani. Incwadi, your stories, Dokotela and no malume, no mama. You actually write your own social contract. Ukuthi ufuna ukwenzani, because usuyazazi ukuthi ubani, as Siya said, we become grounded people. Lo mkhabulo ground us. Njalo mangize lapha nozincwadi ngiyazama ukuthi ngize ngaphandle mangekho la eSouth Africa, I come out of the door a better person. So we also are able to develop our own social contracts as communities. You actually mentioned to 350 in passing. This thing yokuthi manje abantu ingane zithi sifuna 350 bethu. Akho 350 bethu la. One, these ikweleti lezi South Africa owes the world because of this 350. Thina esisebenzayo imbijana lesi esebenzayo, there are about 17 million who are on welfare. Half of them shouldn't be. And you have a tax base of about 7 million people. So 7 million, uthwele abantu about 7 million, abagula banalutho. So we really need to review our own social contracts and our own social security systems. Njengamanje, we are going to be living longer. We have already begun living longer. African women, particularly in South Africa and Zimbabwe. Japanese women are known to live longer. We are now having women living longer. Abagula banalutho abakhwehleli. We will retire asigula sinalutho. I'm over 70. Angigula nginalutho angikhwehleli. Ngaphandle mangishayiswe imoto. So in other words, we are going to have people living more than 30 years after what we call a lifespan. Bengaguli bengenalutho. So we need to change our social security system, going back to how we take and support one another as communities. So kuningi esifanele sikwenze what I'm calling exclusives by growth. Wonke ama-policies amaningi lawa akhona anengozi yokuba ne-dependence. Akhona ama-policies la eSouth Africa which are good, but kukhona azosilethela ubungozi obuyisimangaliso. Ekugcineni-ke, just nje kafushane ngizobuyela kuwena Gcina. Ngiyakwazi awufunda ungafuni ukukhulunywe ngawo. Umuntu mayikhuluma ngawo uphuthuma kuqala umncomo usuqala enye indaba. But I think it's always important to add and amplify what odadewethu nabafowethu has said here ukuthi uGcina, Dr. Gcina embodies the eclectic nature of orality, which is very fluid in terms of being flexible, transformative, versatile, and empowering. So, Dr. Mhlope, we appreciate that you are our living legend and a national treasure. And I'm actually tempted to say a global a treasure, given how your own initiative has actually overgrown you too. Isikhulile lento, and part of the resilience ukuthi ikhule, part of the reason eyenza ukuthi ikhule ingoba awunawo umona nomhobholo. Awunako ukuthi mangibiza uZawadi uzongidlula. Awunayo mina. You help us to remove layers of doubt and find ourselves. Must come from these sessions to confirm that it is spiritual. Siphuma, we feel light and feel good and look forward ekutheni kusasa kuzobe kwenzekani na next year. So, as it's been said, it's more than 23 years and it's not going anywhere soon. This Nozincwadi will grow. And the other point I wanted to emphasize about technology. Technology, yes, is here. It's a way of life. We're in the 21st century. We must move away from the myth that if there's technology, language goes away and books goes away. The most developed countries, Russia, Singapore, Japan, have books. And India, they are into technologies. They've been into technology for decades, but they still produce books. So there's this hybrid. The books will always be there and technology is going to be there. You can't jettison books and culture. This morning, ngilalele uMinister kade ekhuluma eFrance, uMinister wethu ekhuluma nge-cultural tourism. Ngilindile ukuthi ngimbona ngithi mhlonishwa, but khona into esingayenzile kuma-policies ethu. I-cultural tourism ayikho. I-culture is not grounding our nation building. Ayikho. Ayikho, but ikhona Agenda 2063. If you look at the 7 aspirations of Agenda 2063, aspiration 5, 6, and 7 literally talks about quality of life, culture, and education. So maybe angime nje lapho ngingaze ngibhembe kakhulu. Angiyona storyteller. Thank you very much for the iy'thakazelo zakithi zithi Mwelase nzima khondlo phuthini wena ongena emanzini nesifuni sivuta uphume naso sivuta. So effectively kusho ukuthi we don't retreat. Ungena nesipuni sivuta uphume nesivuta. Even in times of stress and strain, we will not retreat. So that's what it means. And in youth, 2000, izibuko is yileyo ndawo in a river where you cross the safest point in yes, emfuleni la uwela khona kuthiwa izibuko. So so mazibuko, and part of our totem asidli inkalankala ethina, asidli inkalankala. You are taught umncane uzalwa, yeah, always ungaboyithinta inkalankala, awuyibulali, awuyidli, kuze kuthiwa sikekela njengey'nkalankala. Ngiyabonga. Thank you very much. Right. Keep up the good work, Nozincwadi.
Siyabonga kakhulu ku-Professor Mazibuko. Can we give her another round of applause, please? Thank you so much for your wisdom, and thank you so much for all the good work that you do, especially in the academic field, you know, where we can influence policies. You know, kubaluleke kakhulu ukuthi sibe khona in those positions, and for us to have voices in those spaces that are able to change policy to work better for us as a society. All right. Next up. Ma? Oh, okay. Bengithanda ukuthi before kuba dismiss-ke ngeke phela. Ngisacela ukusho futhi ukuthi udokotela ubaba Edmond, umama Janet, ubaba Jerry, uzobe the storyteller, and uDr. Gcinamasiko. Can you give them another round of applause? Siyabonga kakhulu, siyabonga kakhulu. Ngicela ukuzantikisa bo, please. Ngiyajabula ngoba ngiyawenza amakhele phile. Siyabonga kakhulu. We're going to have our last performance. We're going to have our last performance by our beautiful sister. Usisi wethu simthanda kakhulu. Usisi wethu osikhumbuza isintu sethu. Osikhumbuza no-princess umama uMagogo. Usisi Nozincwadi, can you give her a round of applause? Uhamba noSteven.
Yeah. Oh no, msophezu konke izizwe zizakucinywa wena ongacimekiyo osihamukele wabongwa izizwe zonke isemagumbini womane waphambi kwakho zithi uyingcwele. Sanibonani. Isikhathi asisekho angifuni ukukhuluma kakhulu, but I felt like let me just sing this hymn, Ihubo by Princess Magogo, because Ihubo elokukhuleka sisamahubo umthandazo wesizwe. So Ihubo litheziwa phambi kwakho zithi uyingcwele. I think kube ihubo elifanele just after the river that we've just drank from as abantu abasebasha sifunde lukhulu namhlanje. Siyabonga. Maye babo. Ni. Sangomzila wezinkomo nabantu. Gijima kalona ubongilayezela. Bomtshela ukuba yeka na mina sasihlukana naye mina ngiqonda ukuba ngiyawuzenza njani sengiyawuzishisela nendlu. Gijima khaleweni yebyababa ngimthanda nje muhle bozulu ngimthanda namuhla umntwana womuntu mina ngiyamesaba umntwana womuntu isiphongo senyathi umntwana womuntu umhluzi wempisi umntwana womuntu usinga lwemamba umntwana womuntu luphondo lwenkabi umntwana womuntu umhluzi wengodula buyankaba bushone esiswini athi ngathangalayo udlula kithi ekhaya adlule esangweni lapha kithi emahashini ngizwe ngimsasazele nangezinja ngimbuke lapho sekhamazela ngimbuke lapha esekhamazela abantu eselingisa ingane icathula ngathi ngathi baphuzana kababa ngathi ngathi bafana benkosi Unonkala, kasemlanje, unonkala, kasemlanje, watitiela, wenza ngabo unonkala, ngasemlanjeni, wenza ngabo unonkala, ngasemlanjeni, watitiela unonkala, sizovuma kanjani sivuma sithi unonkala ngasemlanje asiphinde futhi unonkala ngasemlanje 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 sesiyodla engihambe ngingashongo ukuthi ngibahle Ngawubona inwele zami zincome ngoba zinhle. Ngawubona inwele zami zincome ngoba zinhle. Ngawubona ibala lami lincome ngoba lihle. Lingobe ngolihle. Okay, sasiyayingomana ibalala linjani lihle amabele ami mahle bathi fika yami ihle isinye sami sihle noma isishopha sami sihle hayibo bathi uphethe lwami linjani lihle negwegwe lami linjani lihle
Athi-ke inqondo yami enjani mina ngimosha 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 Ibalalami, ibalala lentondo, imuhlene inwele zami, ngekafaka ngiyefrontal, ngimosha, 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 yes, ngimosha, 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 ngimosha nginjena. Ngimotangingena, 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 ibona amabele Mashaya, bathi isisho sami, ifika yami, imcondo yami, isitho sami, ubhedel wami, igwegwe lami, isinqe sami, isishopho sami, ukusha kwami, iy'khomo zami, iy'nwele zami, ibala lami, amehlo ami, ukuncoma kwami, Thank you so much. Hi, hi. Her name is Zawadi. Can you give her another round of applause? Okay, all right. Thank you for bringing so much fire, so much energy, so much ancestral wisdom. Ngiyacela-ke ukuthi ningiboleke indlebe kokugcina. Sesivalelisa, sesivala le ndawo, sesigobha lezozo. A very big thank you to Gcinamasiko. A very big thank you to the Gcinamasiko team that keeps on making things happen. The Gcinamasiko team is so passionate and so energetic. Omabizwa basabele. Siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi nibe nathi nikwazi ukuthi nisekele nomama as she does indumezulu engaka. An international storytelling festival just because ibirthday yakhe. Hayibo njalo siqedile. Sasa start a break angithi. Ekade sebenza. Kodwa ke ngomsombuluko siye eMgungundlovu. eBessie Head Library ma. La siphuma khona ke mina ngiphuza amanzi asemthunguzi. Mase ngoLesibili sivala with the National Storytelling Day under the storytelling tree. eBluff Showgrounds. Ila sesivala khona ke sesithi i-birthday yakhe. Happy birthday, i-birthday, 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 happy birthday, i-birthday yakhe. Siyabonga kakhulu. It's been a pleasure. The 15th edition of the Nozincwadi International Storytelling Tree. My name is Pretty Olifant. It's been a pleasure being with you today. Ngugatsheni, nguboya benyathi, ngumpongo, nguzingelwayo. Ubaba yena, unyambosi, umpanza, umasondo, udungiswayo. Mase kuthi ugogo wami, ingelosi yami, uShombela, uMangcingcinci, unyawonkulu, unyawonhle, umshonjane kawushi. Ubathande ingane ngoba abantu abadala zibabukela ufefane. Okay, nangu uma ucela naye ukuvalelisa njengoba esezoshiya.
Kwelatomo, sinawa ndine pongongo, sinawa. Mandithathe lithuba. Ndibulele kakhulu imbeko esiyifumanayo siliphondo leMpuma Kapa ukuba sibe inxalenye yokucolodela lo msitho. Bekumnandi kakhulu. Ndiva kabuhlungu ukuba singakwazi ukuba sigqibezele. I take this opportunity to humble myself on behalf of my Eastern Cape team. Madoda left earlier and myself, I'm leaving early tomorrow. We are honored. Back home, kuthiwa senza laa nto kaGcina. And we wish to send a strong message for people to own it, to say that it's not into kaGcina. It's each time a storyteller appears, they will tell you that, oh, wenza laa nto kaGcina. And she's carrying a burden of trying to make people understand that storytellers are everywhere. Our history is everywhere. When she says, I'm not going to come from KZN and be part of an event that is somewhere in the Eastern Cape when there is Madot and Lakose, when there is Dr. Zakaza, when there is someone else. So, Prof, you've said a mouthful that Agana Mona. She refers us. We are coming to her space freely, knowing that she's not afraid. You've just asked me now about Umamu Mandisa Mtyeku, who happens to be my grandmother's child, my grandchild's grandmother. She is going to launch her first book, Lelo Tando Enhle Mtyeku, a 9-year-old, a grandchild to Mandisa Mtyeku, has written a book, Sihlangene Ngothando. I'm going back home. Uprof just asked me about Mandisa Mtyeku because I was telling a story about Duncan Village. So we are connected by stories. I am going back home proud, knowing that Simunye, we are in this together. Ayabulela maqam onomnobo nomkhansi. Into ezawela uthukela zikhokhelwe intombazana uNomgqobho. When I heard the history of Utukela, you know, Amagam hail from this side. That is why I keep on coming to get the spirit this side, because I am connected because of the Kam nation. Ndiyinkosazana yamaqam onomnobo sandla siphume pokothwe ngenxa yoqhenqena uqhekeza itiki. Thank you very much. Ayabulela namatolo. Thank you very much. I am humbled. Thank you so much, man. Goodbye. Enjoy the rest of the festival.